Gear up for Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. It's your final word on sports all across the state. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now here are your hosts, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
Are things tweaked from time to time? Absolutely. I think you have to continue to learn and grow when you have some moments like this.
We've advanced into an elite group of teams, and we're a good team. We've done some great things this year, and hopefully our guys understand that it's a new season, that you're playing with 64 teams as opposed to 295.
And good evening, everyone. Welcome back into Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network, as we head towards the baseball regional action beginning on Friday. Clemson getting ready to welcome 3 schools to its campus: Vanderbilt, St. John's, and Greensboro. The Tigers will take on Greensboro on Friday at 7, St. John's and Vandy at noon. And the teams will have practice tomorrow at Doug Kingsmore Stadium and some press conferences, and we'll hear from them once again then as they talk about the beginning of play. So we are into that stage now of regional baseball. Only one team from our state participating this time around, most unusual. And we'll hear tonight a little more from Chad Holbrook from his meeting with the media yesterday. Yesterday we focused on the job talk. Tonight, more about his view of what went wrong this year and how he plans to fix it. And we'll bring that to you in just a little bit. 800-956-7266, the number, if you'd like to join in and add your thoughts about the South Carolina baseball situation and where you think it's going to be heading. I think that Ray Tanner was asked today at SEC Media Days about it, and he said, of course,
we have a meeting when I get back.
Yeah, and he said no decision has been made, which raises the question, is there a decision to be made?
Well, I don't think there's any question there's a decision to be made. I mean, 5 years in, they've missed a postseason 2 out of 3 times. There is no question there is a decision to be made. I question
you're saying there's no question. I mean, I just don't understand the mindset of anytime you don't make the tournament, you consider firing the coach. Is this the way? Let's just
I don't say I agree that he should be fired.
No, I'm not talking about you. I'm just talking about the public. And just say that Ray tightens up the backbone and closes out the noise, unless he's ordered to by the university president or the board of trustees, the power brokers there, unless they come down and say, look, you got to make a change, no questions asked, and then it's out of his hands. Let's say he doesn't. Let's say he sticks with Chad. In 2018, the Gamecocks go back to the tournament. 2019, let's say they missed a tournament again by a short measure.
Your bellyache again.
Are you going to be back in I mean, you just can't every time you missed a tournament call for the coach's head.
Well, that's my thing is you fire him, and are you telling the next guy, look, okay, you go to a super regional next year and get bounced in the first round of the playoffs. Same scenario after 5 years.
What was the message that Monty Lee got when he went to Clemson?
Yeah.
What kind of expectations is he under?
He's still in the honeymoon phase. If Clemson doesn't get out of their whole regional for a second straight year, that's the same thing. A season like that's the same thing that got his predecessor, a Hall of Famer, fired eventually.
One season. Jack had one season out of, what was it, 21, 22 in a row?
Exactly.
And baseball,
and then, of course, he missed it, and then they went to Vanderbilt, and they got 0-2.
As has been pointed out, okay, so people are saying this is Chad Holbrook's fault. They missed it 2 out of 3 years. Okay, whose fault was it at North Carolina when they missed it 2 straight years? Number 2 national seed or Stanford. Well, those are established coaches. They have a lot of credibility. Okay, established coaches with a lot of credibility and established programs, power programs, missing the postseason 2 straight years. What happened? Injuries. Maybe some guys didn't pan out. Maybe they got hit hard by the draft. Okay, those things happen in college baseball. And now more and more. Coastal Carolina, they didn't make the postseason this year after winning the whole thing. That's the margin for error. And now teams like Coastal Carolina can win and play themselves in. It's much tougher now to go on the kind of run that Ray Tanner even went on before he hung it up. That's not going to happen again. You're not going to see a run like that again in college baseball. You probably aren't going to see many back-to-back 3-time champions. Getting to Omaha is like winning a championship, essentially. Then it's a crapshoot. Let's see who's going to win this little tournament.
So if Frank Martin doesn't make the Final Four next year,
Get rid of him.
Is it a down year?
Yeah,
I mean,
well,
come on. I mean, what are the reasonable expectations? What do reasonable people – I'm not talking about you people on Twitter because you're not reasonable at all. I'm talking about reasonably thinking people, people that call this show who are reasonable thinkers.
Yeah.
What are expectations? And I don't believe that look, the guy's averaged 40 wins a year. He's won 200 games on the button in 5 years. It's 40 wins a year. I'm not going to sit here and repeat his resume. You've heard it enough. I don't think anything that's happened has risen to the level of a dismissal, period.
What I would like to just tell people that,
and let me just say this, and I know that the naysayers out there believe that we here in the anytime you support a coach in his job, for some reason you're viewed as sucking up to the coach. We gain nothing. Yeah, we have nothing to gain. Look, I think K-Mac was one of the loudest, and I wasn't too far behind. But when it came with Darren Horn, you were one of the most vocal people in the media to talk about he needed to go. Yeah, and if you were around the program and you were around him, nobody was going to disagree with that. Being around Chad Holbrook, there's a lot of positives there as I see it, and I just can't believe Ray Tanner will make the change. I just don't believe he's going to pull the rug out from under not only Chad Holbrook, but two people very close to him in Jerry Myers and Sammy Esposito. Now, you know, when you make decisions, business decisions, sometimes you have to put your feelings aside and look at the hardcore bottom line and make the tough decision. I get that. But this program is not broken. Okay. This team just had a year with injuries and near misses and came up a hair short.
Yeah, a little bit short. I mean, it's the same year that Miami missed their 45th straight year. The key is when you look at things like recruiting isn't down. Okay, check that mark. Did his team give up on him? Well, if they wanted to give up on him, they'd have done like they usually do when they go to Hoover. Drop one game this time and go home. Those kids fought tooth and nail to get to the semifinals and just could not close the deal to get to the championship round. The other key is this. Whether we think we put on, as Chad Holbrook, I use his words, put on my big boy pants or not, I want to know that my fan base is behind me when I'm having a bad year, as opposed, what are you saying? Well, as long as you win, we right there for you, knowing that you got the knives sitting right there in your left hand, ready to stab me in the back. If I
question the Gamecock, the greatest fans in America, identity with Gamecock fans and baseball fans in particular. To me, you're bandwagon fans. Yeah, you're there when it's going well. You never go to Hoover, never. Even when the Gamecocks took great teams to Hoover, the Gamecock fans didn't show up. And it's a closer ride from Columbia to Hoover than Baton Rouge to Hoover. And you would have thought they were playing on Saturday in Baton Rouge and then on Sunday as well. I mean, the LSU, those are fans. Yeah.
Well, I think
they support and they get mad. I mean, look, they ran off Smoke Laval.
And he made it to Omaha.
Exactly. So those are hard fans to satisfy as well.
Following a legend.
And it's great to have the passion for baseball. And this, look, 30 years ago, Bill Wilhelm, June Raines would have given their right arm for this kind of baseball attention and passion. But with attention and passion and money comes everything else. That's not so positive. All of a sudden, see, all those years, those guys were working in the background. Nobody noticed. If they ever missed a regional or whatever the case was back then, it was negative. Nobody paid attention to it. You know, now, of course, it's a high profile sport. Everybody pays attention, and that's good. Here it is. We're still talking about it, and we'll continue to talk about it. This is one of the few states passionate about its baseball collegiately and particular teams, and people do get upset. I doubt in Miami hardly anybody noticed the Hurricanes outside of Coral Gables not making the tournament. We'll take your calls when we come back.
I said the king's in the building. Tell me how you feeling. Yeah, I said the king's in the building. Tell me how you feeling. Yeah.
No talking during my personal anthem.
Tell me how you feeling.
And I don't drive a Kia. All right, welcome back. Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. A couple of tweets on our Twitter line that are timely to what we're talking about. This guy writes, the no vote of confidence. Fans are sick of Chad. This person writes, making excuses for him won't help. He took over an elite program, and now the program is missing the tourney. Another one writes, don't think Holbrook has been bad enough overall to warrant losing his job. So that's a different opinion. The same guy wrote, Leggett wasn't fired for one bad year. He had a steady decline over his last 5 to 6 with no signs of hope for the future. Oh, yeah? He signed a guy named Seth Beer.
Right.
Yes.
And
which gives you hope.
in baseball, it's tougher now. There's a reason why. And again, Fred Jordan touched on this yesterday.
And Fred will be with us tomorrow night.
And there is a ton of parity in college baseball now that wasn't there before. And just recently, the scholarship restrictions changed to make even more parity and even the playing field, no pun intended, further. So this notion that you're going to be able to just run through things, and there used to be about 10 teams that were better than everybody. Southern Cal could go to Omaha and win 28-6 in the championship game because they were better in Texas. And LSU and Miami. Those were the big dogs. And then you'd have Wichita State. Other teams would come in there, but there weren't a lot of teams that were investing in baseball. Now there are a lot of teams, even in the Northeast, in the Midwest, that are investing in baseball and putting resources in baseball that weren't doing it before. So you have to take that into account. The smaller schools are getting really good players. The College of Charlestons and the Coastal Carolinas of the world are very competitive now. And you have to adjust with the times. South Carolina may make a change, but the next guy may not have any more success than Chad Holbrook. So you have to prepare yourself for that. And the program has not fallen in the doldrums. They were in, and again, I know close doesn't count, but they weren't getting shellacked and swept by the great teams in the SEC. They had a chance to win in the final game in each of those 8 series by and large. And in many cases had a lead in the 8th or 9th inning. You can say they weren't able to hang on. Well, is that all Chad Holbrook's fault? When a guy gives up a 3-run homer with 2 outs in the bottom of the 9th at Auburn, is that the coach's fault?
Right.
When the bases are loaded with 1 out and 2 guys strike out, is that the coach's fault? At some point, you know, this isn't throwing players under the bus, but they have to make the plays. They have to perform. And maybe that doesn't happen. Maybe guys that you were expecting to perform don't. But you can't tell me that, A, Tyler Johnson healthy all season doesn't make a difference and they're not in the postseason. And if Clark Schmidt doesn't go down at Florida when they were in the – that was the meat and potatoes of their schedule. Florida, Kentucky, LSU. You can't tell me that they don't end up winning a couple of more games with Schmidt. And with Schmidt and Crow and Hill and a healthy Johnson, even if they were a 2 seed on the road in a regional, that's a team that could have still gone to Omaha. So they're not that far away. They're still respected. They're still recruiting on a high level. I just don't buy into this notion that South Carolina baseball is now a doormat, an embarrassment, and Chad Holbrook should be exiled in shame.
All right, to the phones, 800-956-7266. Now, really, I mean, the three of us, a rare occurrence on this particular issue. Take us on, tell us where we're wrong, and then we'll set you straight. We're going to go where? First up, Dan over in Charlotte. Good to have you with us from the Queen City tonight. Welcome to the capital city.
But thank you, McCall. First of all, I'll listen to you and K-Mac and the other gentleman,
Professor,
and Pro.
Yeah.
And most of what you said is, you can't deny that the parity in college baseball and the investment in facilities across the country is gone up in the interest in baseball. With that being said, the things that get me about Chad Holbrook, and I know he can improve this. I've been a baseball purist for all my life. I've coached baseball. I've watched it. Chad Holbrook does not do the little things in baseball games. You do not pitch to the best hitter in college baseball and let him tie the game, and then you go to extra innings and lose it. Last year against Florida, he had Tyler Johnson in the 8th inning. Tyler Johnson he shut him down, and then in the 9th inning he brought Reagan in, and we give up 2 home runs and we lose. That and they cannot bunt a baseball. Mm-hmm. They cannot make their fundamentals are absolutely atrocious. Absolutely.
Well, offensively, yes. Defensively, they were still a team that fielded at 975.
But that's not up to Carolina standards. Carolina standard, USC is used to being in the top 2 or 3 in the league defensively.
Well, they were still very good defense. No, well, okay. The numbers say otherwise, but go ahead.
They give teams extra outs. Anytime you give a team extra outs, especially in the SEC, you're going to lose. Chad Holbrook, Jerry Myers, Sammy Esposito, they all need to be terminated, and they need to bring in some fresh blood. They all need to go.
All right. Thank you very much. Appreciate your comments. Let me just see the date of this thing right here. This was as of where's my date? May 20. All right, this would have been right before I don't have the updated stats, but right before the SEC tournament. So I guess through regular season play defensively, the Gamecocks had committed 48 errors, which, if I can get back to it here, I believe was among the lowest, if not the lowest in the league. Not the lowest. Florida committed 40 errors at that point. LSU only 35 and Arkansas 43. So the Gamecocks were in the top 5 in terms of fewest errors committed. I mean, that's what the numbers say.
Yeah.
So they were a good fielding team, 977 fielding percentage. They say in college baseball, anything above 975 is really good.
Right. Well, they, sometimes it's when the errors occur. They had some late miscues in games that things got away from them. You can say it was the wrong call, but at LSU, Williams gets pulled off the bag in the bottom of the 8th inning, would have been the 3rd out. A run ends up scoring. You execute that play, you win that game, you win that series. You're in the postseason right now. We're not having this discussion. Mm-hmm. There were lots of games like that for USC. And look, I think Chad Holbrook has to get better. I mean, I think that he has to do better. I think that he can. I don't think he stumbled into this job without knowing a thing or two about baseball. He was at North Carolina. He helped build that program. He helped Ray Tanner go on that incredible run that we just talked about. So he knows how to do it. He came into a pressure cooker that was only going to go down. There was no coach that was going to be able to sustain what Ray Tanner did. And that includes Ray Tanner had he not taken the AD job. South Carolina baseball would have dipped. Now, would it have now? I don't know. I think this is going to be more the norm, not just at USC, but around college baseball where teams have more ebbs and flows. And when you crater, it's not going to be just making a regional and cratering there. It's going to be a lot of good teams are not going to make the postseason. It almost was a birthright for a while. It is no longer a birthright to make an NCAA regional for anybody, Miami, South Carolina, or Clemson.
All right, 800-956-7266. Let's hold off on the call. And guys holding on, maybe ladies too, hang on. We'll get to you after the break. I promise we'll continue with the calls. Also, more from Chad Holbrook as he talks about the team and what he plans to do to correct things for 2018. We'll bring that to you as well. We have a good friend of ours, Andy Solomon, longtime college administrator in our state. Did you know he's in the is it the NAIA or the big? He's in the Hall of Fame from his days at Winthrop as a publicist, and he's written a book about his first 25 years of Citadel athletics. He's going to join us in our second hour. Freddie Jordan, the now retired baseball coach at the Citadel, will be with us tomorrow night. SC Wild tonight. Boy, do I have some stories to ask the captain about tonight when he joins us at 7:30. Back in a moment. Welcome back. Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. Our poll question, how far will Clemson go in the NCAA tournament? Go to our website and vote. 63% of you are saying just the regional. Obviously, the Clemson fans, unlike the last question when they piled in on Deshaun Watson, are not piling in here. Super regional, about 22%, and 15% say the Tigers will make the World Series. Go and vote. Recruiting coming up. Stephen Davis Jr. is going to enroll at USC, second semester of summer school. According to what his dad told GoGamecox.com, his dad, Stephen Davis. Stephen Davis Jr., former safety and running back at Dutch Fork, early in his senior year, missed the rest of the year, went to Auburn, redshirted, then left the program in February, and now is going to walk on at South Carolina because Auburn would not release him to a South Carolina or any other SEC schools. Yes, Gus Malzahn doing it again. I also, and we'll have this story up later, I talked with Antoine Jackson today, one of the other two big transfers out of Auburn, and his comments to me are very interesting about Auburn in terms of blocking him. He's blocked right now from every SEC school, Clemson, Mercer, Georgia Southern, and Ohio State. Now, he understands the SEC schools barely, and Clemson and the other two because they're on the schedule, but he couldn't play this year anyway.
Right.
Ohio State, he doesn't get at all. He said he's trying to transfer to Michigan, Anna, Illinois, but they blocked Ohio State. And I said, well, maybe they don't want to – maybe they think they're going to play Ohio State in the playoffs in a couple of years, and they don't want to play
either
against
way. Them. I mean, I think the NCAA, everybody should adopt the Steve Spurrier policy.
Absolutely.
I don't care where you go. I mean, if you leave under good standing, another school wants to take you, unless there has been tampering or you are aware of something taking place that shouldn't have taken place, and you want to throw the block in there or appeal it, these kids should be able to transfer, sit out the year, and go where they want to go. You know, Nick Saban didn't have to sit out a year when he went from Michigan State to LSU.
He's still blocking people.
Or Kirby Smart when he went from the staff at Alabama to the head coach at Georgia. It was a better situation for him and his family. He did that, and sometimes it's better for a guy to head somewhere else. And if sitting out a year is punishment enough. And if they're on the schedule the next year, tough. I mean, are you that afraid of one guy? I actually
believe if a player redshirted and has already lost that year at a school and transfers, let him play right away. He's already set out a year.
Exactly.
He set out a redshirt year, and you know,
so he loses a year anyway. He'd have 3 years.
He'd have 3 years with no redshirt available. All right, back to the phones we go. 800-956-7266.
First question before you get back to the phone. Him transferring to South Carolina, is he a running back or linebacker? Because he played a lot of linebacker in high school.
Well, safety.
Safety?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. I don't know. They moved him to running back because at Dutch Fork before his senior year because his performance is safety. So I don't know what position they're projecting him for. My guess is safety, but we'll have to wait and see how he comes back from the knee and how things work out. We go back to your phone calls as promised. Kevin in Marion. Welcome to Sports Talk tonight. How are you?
How y'all gentlemen doing this afternoon? The trio's back, eh?
Yeah, we're all here, all happy, fat and sassy.
Anyway, what I wanted to say about the Carolina coach, I tell you what, I think.
And do me one quick favor, turn your radio down, please, because it's
confusing more than we
get a little echo in the background there. And
excuse me, I thought I had turned it down.
That's
anyway,
okay. Go ahead.
I apologize about that. Anyway, Ray Tanner, I think he's I'm not saying a great coach, but he's a good coach. He's been with, like I said, good programs, and like I said, it'd be hard for anybody to follow Ray Tanner. You know, what he did there right before he went to the AD job, and I'm pretty sure that's the reason why he jumped in on the AD job when he had a chance to have. But that's all I wanted to say. I'm a big Clemson fan. I just think that they ought to sit back and just cool out a little bit. I think it's a good coach.
Well, let me ask you this. As a Clemson fan, then, were you on the same page with Radakovich when he forced Leggett out?
Nope. No, sir.
I couldn't hear you clearly. Did you say no?
No.
Yes.
He said
no.
no.
You were not on the same page.
Sir.
You
No,
didn't.
sir.
You didn't like how that went down.
Nope.
Yeah.
Because.
I'd rather not get into it.
Okay.
I know a little bit too much with presume, so the best thing for me to do is I love Clemson. The best thing to do to me is just to keep my mouth shut.
Yeah.
So we thank you very much.
Well, they
We
landed
appreciate
on
the
a
phone
great
call.
guy. I mean, Jack Leggett deserved a better ending at Clemson. What he did with that program, he left it in great shape. It was not in the doldrums. They made a regional his last year there. They had to go out west, and Monty Lee's done a heck of a job with it. That said, Monty Lee's going to have to go to Omaha because Jack Leggett was making regionals every year.
He went to Omaha, what, six or seven times, I think it was?
He got fired because he happened, what Ray Tanner's success cost him at Clemson because Clemson fans said, yeah, well, he's winning. That's what you're supposed to do. Nobody was beating South Carolina then. Nobody. UCLA wasn't beating them. Florida wasn't beating them. Nobody in the postseason was beating them.
And I don't think he had a good relationship with Radakovich.
No,
For whatever reason, those two apparently did not see
Jack
eye
was
to
old
eye.
school.
Yeah. I think Jack was, used to running his program a certain way. And I can't believe, when they had that meeting before Jack's last year and Radakovich said, maybe you should put a shrink in the dugout with you and all this kind of stuff. I mean,
Jack was who he was, but he's a hell of a baseball coach, a Hall of Famer. I floated this out there on Twitter, and maybe they're too much alike, and it would be an outside of the family hire, and I know there's some history that might prevent it, but Jack Leggett at a place like the Citadel, I think they could do a heck of a lot worse if they wanted to go outside of the family. He's
who knows if
63.
Jack wants to do it now, I mean, he was in Spain on vacation this time of the year.
I think that might be because he wants to get away. I mean, he's such a guy, a passionate baseball guy, and it just tore him to pieces every time Clemson lost a game. I mean, and that was one of the things about him that's the thing about Ray Tanner. When he said this, do you miss it? No, I don't miss the intensity of beating myself up after every loss, because he blamed himself for every loss, and now he doesn't have to do that anymore. And coaches take those losses hard, which is why maybe it's harder for me. I can only speak for myself here. I tend to take the side of coaches because we see what these guys go through and the amount of effort and time that it takes to prepare a team, and the same with the players. And when they don't get the kind of results that they're hoping for, it's not always because they're not good at their jobs. I mean, I think the other teams are pretty good too. They're putting in time and effort.
Well,
and they have scholarship.
The only thing I think the thing that struck me is on that last interview we had before he left, when Jack Leggett said the very additions that I really planned myself for Doug Kingsmore Stadium, including the office I designed, and I don't get to sit in.
Yeah, that's tough. That's tough. Most coaches deserve our benefit of the doubt. Now, I run across some from time to time I wouldn't give the benefit of the doubt to, but I think most do. Back to the phones we go quickly. Mike in Gilbert, welcome into Sports Talk tonight. How are you?
I'm doing all right. On the Holbrook deal, there's a lot of things that y'all, you defend him because he's a good guy. He's a good coach. He's good
No. I don't put good guy. I don't put good guy at the top of the list. Now listen to me.
But
I don't put good guy at the top of the list. I think he's a good baseball coach. I think his 40 wins a season average, his 2 super regional trips, his 3 regional trips in 5 years speaks well for him. I don't look at his 5 years at South Carolina at all as a failure.
But he could have been there one more time and only had the one bad year if he just changed some things. If you watch the game of baseball and you watch him coach, well, let's go back to pitch to everybody to pitch to Beer. Against Georgia, we needed a win. We needed to stay close to Georgia and make a game out of it. Georgia had, I know one.
All right, I got to step right in. Hang on. We're going to come back to you, let you finish up, and continue with phone calls here in just a moment. Sports Talk. Let's get back to Mike and Gilbert. Had to interrupt him there for a quick commercial timeout. Mike, good to have you back with us. Continue, please.
All right. But you just look at recruiting. All right. How many Kevin Marzillis or Jackie Bradleys or whatever, other than our pitching, do we have on this ball club that's going to play in the major leagues or get far in the AAA or something? We don't have any ball players like that on this ball club.
Well, let me just say this.
Pitchers.
Hang on.
You got a couple of pitchers.
Let me say this. Just going back from recruiting days now, Chris Cullen was one of the top-rated catchers in the country.
Was dinged up this year,
and
too.
he's been.
But are we developing those players? Is the question.
Cortez.
We might be recruiting
Cortez,
kids, but
very
are we
highly.
developing those kids?
Cortez, very highly recruited. Olson, very highly recruited out of JUCO. I believe Riley Hogan was a highly considered, highly recruited player out of Georgia.
They are, but
these are,
you know who recruited Jackie Bradley Jr.? You know who recruited him to South Carolina?
Oh, I'm sure Chad Holbrook.
Yeah, I mean, the guy knows
you got to develop him as a player. Look at the kid that played second base for us that his dad played at Clemson. I can't think of his name right now.
Wingo.
I remember hearing them talk about how sorry he was all year, how many headaches he gave Ray for hitting and stuff.
Yeah.
And finally, they stuck with him and they worked with him, and he came around, and he was one of our. One, he was a leader.
Yeah.
He was a vocal leader, and two, it's just a lot of things that goes on over there right now.
I still remember
the Georgia series, series that I was talking about. We needed to stay close because we needed to win a game. Had second and third in that game. Had a 300 hitter on the left side coming up, and he hits. Instead of walking him one out, instead of walking him and pitching to a 200 hitter on deck, where we could have possibly got a play ball and got out of the inning, the 300 guy, he didn't get a hit, but he hit the ball to the right side, a run scored. We gave up the run to get it out.
Okay, now what were the matchups there? Lefty-righty, lefty-lefty, righty-righty? I
can't remember.
So you got to consider that too, because that's averages and all that are great, but they're looking at matchups too.
Yeah, and how did the pitcher match up? And everybody
I'd
wants
rather pitch to it. He pitched to the same pitcher pitched to the next guy, and he hit the ball to second base. It would have been a double play ball. Okay? In the next inning, we come up. Now we're down 2 runs instead of 1.
Yeah.
The next inning, Bride walks to lead off the inning. We got the kid you just named that turned out to be one of the better hitters, the freshman,
Cortez.
coming to the plate.
Cortez.
He comes to the plate, and we're down. We need 2 runs. Well, this is a Cortez hitting a home run.
Decent.
Probably better than anybody else on the roster, on the team. We bunt Cortez to move Bride to second. Bride's run don't mean a thing when you're down 2 runs.
Yeah.
Those are the kind of things that he did.
I agree with you. There were some questionable moves made out there during the season. I go back to the Clemson series where South Carolina won the first game. They go to Greenville. They lead that game all the way through until the 8th inning, and then they came apart. They came apart both in terms of management and in the field. I did not agree bringing in Johnson in the 8th inning. Now, the argument was they were trying to win the series right there because you had the top of Clemson's order coming up, and they wanted their best in there against Clemson's best. And I get that argument, but then again, you got to think about this, and it turned out, now you couldn't foresee Johnson hurting his forearm in that outing as he did, but also if things didn't work out, now you're going backwards through your bullpen. So you've used your closer. If he doesn't close it out, now you're stuck, and you also don't have him for Sunday. So they ended up, of course, blowing the game. That's when you had the wild pitch, the intentional walk wild pitch that led to a run scoring. You just had a complete meltdown by South Carolina in a game that they probably should have won had they executed properly and would have won the series. They didn't. Clemson won, and then they went on to win the series, and that's a blight against South Carolina's record this year. And there were some decisions made that they have to live with that led to that loss, no question about it. But, baseball is a second-guess sport.
Exactly.
It's a second-guess sport, and a lot of times I've heard Holbrook say this, Tanner, Leggett, they all say, look, sometimes you make the right decision and it doesn't work out.
Some decision
And
and it
works
works.
out.
Yeah,
And sometimes and it's so easy to go, well, that didn't work.
Right.
After the fact, well, he should have done this, he should have done that. For every one of those, we can point to times where the right move was made, but everything did not work out. It's easy to go back and point out the things that didn't, and I don't think there's any question that if you could go back and redo things, would I have walked Seth Beer? Yes. Do I understand him with a senior and Josh Reagan, who at the time was one of his best player available right now? This is my guy. He's got 2 strikes on him. And I promise you, Reagan's saying, I can get this guy out. And he hung a pitch where he missed his spot, and Seth Beer hits mistakes.
That's
what he does. So, I mean, they could have walked him intentionally. Maybe the next guy grounds out, or maybe the next guy hits a homer and Clemson wins it there. And they go, why you never put the go-ahead run up in the tying run on base? What are you thinking? And now we lost. So you just don't know how it's going to work out. But I get the frustration, certainly.
All right, back to the phones we go. We'll hold recruiting for you here a little bit, and also we've got some more Holbrook coming your way too. To Charleston for Matt. Matt, welcome to Sports Talk. How are you?
Thank you, Phil, for taking the call. I appreciate listening to you and the professor there and K-Mac all the time.
Thank you.
Listen, I appreciate you saying that. I've been a fan for Carolina and Clemson and Alabama for 40-plus years. I thought baseball back when Richardson put them on the map. Before that, Clemson had rung up any number of winning streaks against them. That's why there's such a gap in the win-loss margin between the two teams. But, I mean, I like Clemson too. But in Carolina's situation, June Waynes was a competitor, but he was never a big-time winner, even though he went out there, I think, a couple of times. Richardson was the man to put him on the baseball map, and Cal was the one that reached the championship level. He climbed the mountain. Now, when, Holbrook took over, and I'm one of his biggest fans, I didn't think there would even be much of a wrinkle in the program. That program was stocked to the gills with high-end recruits that Holbrook recruited, for the most part. Now, he had some help along the way with some of his people that he recruited, but he was the man. That's his strong suit, is recruiting, and it's well-deserved. But out of frustration, I almost feel like that he lost the game against Clemson this year when he let go-for-ball Reagan stay in the game and pitch a home run. And then last year against College of Charleston, he did the same thing, leaving Reagan, and then they lost it in the extra innings, I think, on a home run that Reagan threw. Now, anybody can throw him, and I'm not trying to criticize him so much, but you just don't leave him in a situation like that. Listen, you got a situation with Holbrook. He's not a critical, tactical manager when it comes to calling the right play. That's not his strong suit. I can name 3 coaches right now that will beat him 8 out of 10 times in a tight series. Monty Lee, the fellow at Vanderbilt, Corbin, I think, and Sullivan at Florida. They'll beat him every time. And I hate saying that.
Yeah, well, I mean,
they did beat Vanderbilt.
Yeah, in the SEC
last
tournament,
week.
and they went nose to nose with the Gators. I mean, Monty Lee's got his own problems that he's worrying about right now. The guy lost 12 of 13 ACC games to close out the season. Okay, I mean, none of these coaches are without warts, especially in college baseball. You're going to take losses. Great teams lose double-digit games in a season. So there is no perfect coach out there. If South Carolina thinks they're going to fire Chad Holbrook and find some tactical genius that does everything the way you think they're going to, it's not going to happen.
I don't know what Ray Tanner's thinking. He had the opportunity today to come out and say, what is this nonsense? Chad Holbrook's my coach. We'll have our end of the season meeting, and he'll be back in 2018. He didn't do that when he had a chance to today in talking with some media. So he could have put the kibosh on all of this if he had wanted to. Just something else to think about. Top of the hour. We'll be back.
from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
All right, we're back. South Carolina Radio Network from downtown Columbia. Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary. The Professor, Tom Hayes, all with you tonight. SC Wild at the bottom of the hour. More from Chad Holbrook. Some more comments from him coming up for you here shortly. Right now, let me give you the recruiting report for tonight. We begin with tight end Gavin Schoenwald of Brentwood, Tennessee. He's been strong on USC since the beginning of the recruiting process. The Gamecocks have remained strong contenders, even as his offer list has grown to 13. And when he gets down to a short list of 5 or fewer, he said the Gamecocks will be in his top 2 for sure. I have a feeling he definitely wants to go in the SEC. And I think South Carolina Vanderbilt is what it will come down to. He's a kid that loves Nashville, I can tell you that. Loves his hometown, loves what Nashville has to offer, and very fond of the Vanderbilt program as well. South Carolina's got to peel him out of there if they want to get him. But he really likes South Carolina from his first trip there, and he said that he just feels very comfortable with the Gamecocks, even though he is not committed. But he believes, he said, in the vision that Muschamp has for the program and the school as a whole. He's going to hit the road again in June. USC, a definite stop. He's also going to visit Vandy and possibly Ole Miss, also high up on his list. And again, he's focusing on SEC schools. He loves the SEC. Watching the SEC as a youngster, that's where he wants to play his college football. So South Carolina, Vanderbilt, Ole Miss, and Auburn, he said those are the 4, not a final list, but the 4 that he's talking the most to. And those are the ones talking the most to him. He's looking at the end of July or early August for a decision. Wide receiver Trey Turner of Greensboro, North Carolina, plans to announce his right about now. UA was one of his final 10 with North Carolina, Ole Miss, NC State, Oklahoma, Virginia Tech, Tennessee, Florida State, Louisville, and Miami. He's a 2-sport prospect, and he plans to play basketball in college as well. K-Mac, would you do a quick Twitter search while you're not doing anything? Trey Turner with the little what's that little mark called over the E for emphasis?
A cedilla.
Mm-hmm.
What are we looking for?
Accent.
Trey Turner, Turner. Yeah, Trey Turner 15.
I guess. Did he announce his commitment? That's what we're looking for. While you look that up, I'll tell you that defensive end Dorian Gerald of the College of the Canyons Junior College in California has USC in his top 12. Of course, he's from Florence. The others, Texas A&M, Florida State, Florida, Oklahoma, Alabama, Louisville, Syracuse, Georgia, NC State, Tennessee, and LSU. He returns home tomorrow for a break from the junior college. He'll take some visits. He'll probably pop up at USC, I would imagine, Saturday when the Gamecocks hold their first camp. Linebacker Channing Tindall of Spring Valley plans to visit Auburn this weekend for the Big Cat Weekend, according to his coach. That's a social gathering for top Auburn prospects. He's being recruited by Auburn linebackers coach Travis Williams, a former Spring Valley star himself, who should have gone to South Carolina or Clemson, but they thought he was too small. Didn't think he was big enough, and he goes to Auburn and becomes an all-SEC linebacker, and now recruiting against you. Defensive lineman Trajan Jeffcoat and 2019 running back Kendrell Flowers of Irmo visited USC today. Just talked with Jeffcoat, and he said he had a great visit, was not offered. He's going to camp on Saturday, an offer hanging in the balance if they like what they see. They like him for the buck position. We mentioned earlier Stephen Davis Jr. his dad telling GoGamecocks.com that Jr. will enroll at USC for second semester. I cannot say that. Second semester. I want to say it's the combination of session and semester, and you get semester.
Second summer session.
That too.
Okay.
Second summer session at USC, June 26th.
3S.
And he'll walk on the football team. He's a transfer from Auburn, has to sit out this year. Basketball, 6'9", Ian Steer of High Point, North Carolina, was offered by Maryland. He visited NC State today. Clemson's also offered, and USC is showing interest. He plans to visit both Clemson and USC this summer once he can work out dates with his parents. Did you find it?
Well, he hasn't made an announcement, but he tweeted out a spear, a ram.
Oh, these are the finalists?
And a turkey. So that would be Florida State, North Carolina, and Virginia Tech, I'm assuming.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. The infamous turkey. Okay, so we're waiting on the announcement. Well, it doesn't impact us, but I'd like to know where he's going. Those are the final
three. He has not announced as of.
Kid is going to try to play basketball, too.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a two-sport guy. All right, Chad Holbrook. Of course, last night we focused on his comments about the job situation. Now, let's focus on his comments about fixing USC baseball so that they don't miss the postseason next year and years beyond that. So here is more from Chad Holbrook, basically saying to us yesterday, yeah, missed the postseason, had some issues, but the thing is not falling apart.
When you have a tough year, you evaluate every single aspect of the program. You evaluate yourself. You evaluate, how you do anything. But this program has a great tradition in regards to the way we run practice, the way we lift, to the way our kids perform in the classroom, to the way our kids perform in the community. This program was set up, quite honestly, long before I got here, and nothing has changed in regards that we go about the way that we coach the game, the way that we condition, the way that we teach the game. I mean, and we believe in the program here at the University of South Carolina. And, are things tweaked from time to time? Absolutely. I think you have to continue to learn when you have some moments like this. Maybe do we train a little bit differently to prevent, focus on some injury prevention stuff. There's other things too that will be evaluated. I'm going to evaluate myself, we'll evaluate our players, evaluate our coaches. We'll evaluate every single person. That's just part of it. And to be honest with you, it's part of it, whether you have a great year or a tough year like we just had.
Looking back over the year, I know you had a lot of injuries, but was anyone that stepped up this year do you think is going to make a big impact coming into next year?
Well, I mean, I think, you all got to see what Carlos Cortez can do in the future that he's going to have here. He kind of made a name for himself down the stretch here, and he's going to be a great player. We got a number of other guys as well. We look forward to getting Chris Cullen back from injury, and Jonah Bride returns, and LT Tolbert's going to have the opportunity to return and build on his pretty successful season, as is Jacob Olson. TJ Hopkins hopefully will be a healthy, 100% ready to go next year, and have the makings of a great team in 2018. Some of the recruits that we have coming in are top 100 kids in the country, and are chomping at the bit to get in the mix and help the Gamecocks get back in the top 10 and have an opportunity to go to the College World Series. And so we're excited about the roster that's going to be intact next year, and the players that are coming in and our players that are returning at that point.
Are going to concentrate on in the offseason because you think it needs to improve?
Our baseball play wasn't very bad. We fielded at a high percentage. Our ERA was pretty darn good. We broke the BB Core record for home runs in a season here. We got some good, young, exciting players. When you play in a league that has great parity and it's very close from top to bottom, it comes down to a pitch here or a pitch there or a big 2-out hit here or a big 2-out hit there. And to be honest with you, we didn't make some pitches with some games on the line. We didn't get some hits with some games on the line. You're talking about 2 or 3 games, maybe one game, one pitch. And, we're sitting here talking about our game on Friday. And but it didn't happen. And so you have to take a long, hard look at why it didn't happen. Certainly man enough to do that.
All right, Chad Holbrook, if you hear everything that was pertinent from Chad, it's up on our website, SportsTalkSC.com, both the piece on the job situation and then talking about things that kind of went wrong this year and why they went wrong, and then what you just heard, what he can do, what he plans to do to try to fix it. Though basically he's saying, hey, it's not a complete breakdown yet, tweak here, tweak there, but we stick with the program that's been in place here for many, many years. That's the way he views it. And we'll be back in just a moment here on Sports Talk.
I said the king's in the building. Tell me how you feeling. Yeah, I said the king's in the building. Tell me how you feeling. Yeah, I said the king's in the building.
Had to play my walk-up music once again for Captain Downer, who's
Where
in
did
the
you
building.
hear this song? Because I know you're not listening to any station where this.
Do you not watch NBA basketball? The Kia commercials.
Oh, the Kia commercial.
Yeah, where driving a Kia makes you feel like an NBA player, even though you're a short, white, old
you
guy.
drive a Pinto, so I don't know how.
Kings in the building, baby. A couple of quick notes. Former USC place kicker Elliott Fry been hired at Richland Northeast to be the kicking coach, co-special teams coordinator. Former USC assistant football coach at South Carolina State, most recently, Kurt Botkin, is leaving to go to Texas to coach in high school football. Oh, should have mentioned this. Clemson kickoff times announced today. You've got the of course, the opener against Kent State's at noon. The Louisville game has been set for a 7 o'clock kickoff on ESPN. I'm sorry, back up. The Auburn game, September 9th, ESPN, 7 o'clock. Then the Louisville game, 3:30. The TV has not been announced. And the Friday the 13th game, October 13th game at Syracuse will be at 7 o'clock on ESPN. And USC, Missouri has been set for a 7 o'clock kickoff on ESPN2.
Okay, so
when they play out there. So,
okay,
all right.
That's good.
Want to welcome into Sports Talk, longtime friend of ours, longtime administrator at the Citadel, also at Winthrop. In fact, he's in the Hall of Fame as a result of his work in college athletics. He'll be at Clemson as the NCAA rep at that regional. Andy Solomon joining us.
Good evening.
How are you, my friend?
I'm in downtown Clemson, and what a lovely evening it is.
Already at the SO Club, huh? Already made your way.
No, that's later on.
Okay.
Now, is Andy the guy that gets to decide when they play, if there's a rain delay, and whether that's harp on?
That's right. You're that guy, right?
But of course, when we have to start back up, we have to run that through the NCAA, then we have to run it through ESPN, and all these letters sometimes get confusing. But it's not a lone decision. But yeah, I'm the point guy.
NCAA, the boss, ESPN, the boss's boss.
I'll be so glad when ESPN is dead and gone within maybe 25 years, and we'll be free of that nuisance. It's a nuisance. I know you guys, you get all kind of money from them, and it keeps programs afloat or in less debt than you would be otherwise.
While the mouse ears are still living, they're not going anywhere. Disney ain't letting it go completely away.
Now, Andy has a talent that I did not know he had, and that is as a writer. And he has.
Now, wait a minute. I was a sports information director for a long, long time. You can read my press.
I know. I'm kidding. My first 25 years of Citadel athletics from the pages of the Blue and White. This is a brand new book that has come out that you have compiled. And why? Why did you go to work to put this together now?
Well, this is a collection of stories that I've written at the Citadel for about 18 to 20 years. And the influence on it was two dear friends of mine, one named Ken Berger, to whom I dedicated the book, and my best friend of 27 years and a great South Carolinian. Pat Conroy, a great Citadel graduate who influenced me a lot as well. But I had these stories over, like I said, 18, 20 years. And, you know, you have the, well, you and I might remember the old media guides.
Yeah.
Well, the media guides are terrific. You know, they tell the score, they tell part of the story, but they don't tell about the people. And that's what I really wanted to do. And Ken Berger always preached, write about people. And it was a tribute to him and indirectly to Pat Conroy. But basically, it's a history book of Citadel athletics, of the stories and the people that I encountered in my first quarter century at the military college.
Yeah, it is really well done. I mean, I've been reading it, thumbing through it. I mean, if you're not a Citadel person or fan, you should really read this book, because the Citadel is an intriguing place, is it not? It's not where you went to school, but you've been there so long. Things happen behind those.
I'm still a private there. Yeah, I'm still a private.
I get it. I get
26 years.
But the things happen behind those walls that maybe don't happen at other schools.
Well, that's true. But of course, down at the Citadel and all the colleges across America claim to have real student athletes. We have cadet athletes. And again, the impetus behind the book was to talk about some of the people. And now some of the guys have gotten mad at me and says, well, I used to tell everybody it was a 40-yard field goal when actually it was 25. So I correct a lot of these old-timer stories. And but it is a history book, and there was a niche needed for that, and I was positioned to do it. And let me tell you, I'm not getting wealthy off of it, but it's a great service, and I'm enjoying the reviews on it. And it's just a lot of fun. A lot of fun.
Aren't some proceeds from this going to charity?
Yeah, some of the proceeds are going to the Ken Berger Scholarship at the Citadel that Bonnie, Ken's widow, wanted to start in Ken's memory. And the scholarship is awarded every year to a cadet athlete from the state of South Carolina. And that basically from a story that he wrote, Charleston Southern and College of Charleston's women's basketball game. And if y'all remember Ken Berger, he could write about a drop of water on a piece of glass.
Yeah.
But he wrote the story about the local Charleston teams, women's teams playing basketball, looking at the rosters. And basically his column was, if they're going to play this badly, why can't we just give the scholarships to South Carolinians?
Yeah.
So, I mean, that was in essence what he was trying to say.
Is that?
And so we started the scholarship right after he passed in October of 2015.
Yeah, is that was that the column where he famously wrote, "I love women, I love basketball, I hate women's basketball"?
Well, the truth is, I gave him that, but I was not positioned to take credit for it. But
You did not. Did you give him that line?
Oh, I gave him quite a few of them.
Yeah.
But now that he's dead, he's not positioned to confirm it. But I will say, yeah, that was mine. But I also gave him one that he got credit in Sports Illustrated. What was it? What were the odds that Lou Gehrig would have Lou Gehrig's disease?
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
One of the things that I asked Tommy John, I said, what are the odds you would have Tommy John surgery? He says, Andy, no one's ever asked me that. But Phil, you knew Ken and me for decades, and we just have fun.
Oh, yeah.
And I will tell you this, I sure do miss it.
Oh, Sure do miss it. We all do. Yeah. We all do. Let me ask you this finally. The Citadel parting ways with Freddie Jordan, retiring after a long, distinguished career. And he's going to be with us tomorrow night. But
oh, great!
Yeah,
great.
Another piece of the fabric of Citadel sports, however, being ripped away there. But your thoughts on Freddie and his career at the Citadel?
Well, I'm one of the few people that was at his first press conference and his last, and he's pretty much been the same for 26 years. He is a great, great, great coach. He's a better person, better husband and father. But the Citadel is a tough place to win, no matter what sport you're talking about. And what he has done, I'm not so sure will ever be done again. And one of the things that Freddie and his staff, and of course he had Dan McDonnell at Louisville, now at Louisville and at Indiana. But we would find some of those guys that were under the radar, like Asher Wojciechowski, who pitched for Cincinnati last night. And Dallas McPherson, who played for Oakland and the Angels. Mm-hmm. And some of these guys we would find under the radar. Well, because of the travel ball and all that kind of AAU stuff, there's no such thing as under the radar anymore. So I'm not sure if it'll ever be duplicated. But when you stop and think about it, the Citadels had just 2 baseball coaches in 53 years. And Shal Port, of course, had 27 years, and that was Freddie's coach and mentor. So the consistency and continuity that the program has had has really been remarkable. And Freddie had his little press conference 2 days ago, I guess it was. I'm at Clemson. I got my days mixed up already.
It was yesterday.
But, yeah. Okay. Yesterday?
Yesterday? No, Tuesday. I'm sorry.
Yes, Tuesday.
Yeah, my days.
So anyway, but he was just himself. And when you have him on the air, he'll give you the short sentences, and you'll be able to hear him. He's got a great outdoor voice. In my 42 years of college athletics, the 2 people coaches that have the best outdoor voices were Freddie Jordan and Ellis Johnson.
Hey, listen, we got to run, but we thank you very much, and we'll be right back.
It's time to get wild with SC Wild. Everything hunting and fishing from the South Carolina Department of Natural Resources and your host, Phil Kornblut. SC Wild on Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network.
It is time for another exciting edition of SC Wild from DNR here on Sports Talk. Good to have the captain, Billy Downer, back in studio, a Citadel man.
Yes.
You know what? I should give you this book, but I'm not. But I should. It's a great
first
book.
25 years of Citadel athletics.
You want to read it and get
That's
it back to
probably
me?
a great read.
It is. It is. I've been reading some of the
read.
stuff. Andy Solomon, he was just on with us. If you'd like to take it and read it, but
Blue
bring
and
it
white.
back.
I love it.
Mm-hmm. Perfect for a Citadel man, right?
Absolutely.
Good to have you back with us. Where have you been?
Glad to be here. Been a lot of places. We've had college graduation, a high school graduation, a state softball championship series, a state championship win.
Yes, congratulations.
A trip to Oregon.
We have one of the winners here with us.
Yes, we do.
You want to identify?
This would be my daughter, Cora Downer.
Congratulations.
Played center field for Lawrence Manning. Lawrence Manning won the 3A state championship for Skeeza.
Fantastic.
We had two great winners in Clarendon County. Had also the single A champion for public school, East Clarendon. Took that home as well. So
since we're talking champions, Latta, home of champions.
Oh yes,
won the AA softball championship.
A lot of softball champions.
Softball's
a big sport in our state.
I love softball.
You don't talk about it
softball.
enough. I keep talking about it.
I love softball and beach volleyball. Those are two sports that I'm really into now.
And we're looking forward to right now. We got the middle of super regionals just finishing up.
Where?
Going to the
Women's
College World Series.
Yeah. The baseball is just getting started with the regionals.
We got a little ahead of the Women's College World Series. Fixing to crank up.
Yes, absolutely. All right.
Well, let's
good to have you back
about
with us because we got some good stuff to talk about
Your
here.
favorite topic again.
Well, two things before we get to what's on the page here. Did you see the video? There was
I did see the
video of a huge gator walking across the golf course at Fripp Island. I mean, one of those that has the big old neck.
Big guttural neck, yes.
Yeah,
big
everything
belly,
you talk
standing
about.
Tall.
And don't you think those people were a little close?
They see gators all the time at Fripp Island. That's where we go to the beach. We see gators there all the time.
Yeah. That big?
Not necessarily that big, but you see gators a lot. So you get, when people are around gators enough like that and they see them a lot on the golf course, they get kind of desensitized to them. It's not necessarily a good thing.
Right.
But they get so used to them, they don't get afraid of them anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And as we've seen, things can happen. Which leads us to our story.
Well,
where, people talk about gators abusing them. This time a gator got abused.
Well, let me say this. These are my two new heroes, these guys.
Okay. They're not a hero, Phil.
These guys poured beer down the throat of an alligator.
Yes.
Right? What's the story?
All right. So two young men here in our state were driving along, and, oh, there's a gator in the road. So they pick it up, and they come to the brilliant conclusion that we're going to pick this little 2.5 foot, 3 foot gator up, whatever.
Yeah. And
we're going to pour beer down its throat. We're going to video it.
Yeah.
And not only are we going to video it, we're going to put it on social media and brag about it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's the good ending of the story. People began to complain. Last week, the complaints started coming in within a day or two. Officers were able to locate them and charge them with harassing wildlife,
cruelty,
our state's alligator management legislation, which carries a fine of $300, which they will probably get fined. But again,
what'd they say about it? Did they say anything?
I don't know exactly what they said, but I mean, what can you say when you videoed yourself doing this? It's not necessarily the smartest thing in the world to do.
Where did this happen?
Say,
okay,
as I understand it.
And of course, you don't advise touching the wild animals.
First of all, picking up alligators like that anyway. Again, finger, anything could have got lashed, broke, cut, chewed, whatever.
They obviously didn't care.
No, they're having fun.
Yeah.
They were probably.
I mean, what kind of shape were they in?
I don't know.
Yeah.
One can only imagine. When it comes to, hey, watch this, how that starts.
Yeah. I heard that story. And I'm saying, you know what? That's why we love South Carolina, because our people do things like that.
Well, two good things out of here.
I'm not saying I'm not condoning it. Don't get me wrong. I'm coming out on the side of the law here.
That you see. Number one, the public, social media, you hear about social media going wrong a lot of times. In this case, the people on social media turned these guys in immediately. They didn't like it. They called this in. Officers were able to locate these individuals and take care of the problem. So, again, something that shouldn't happen, but it was taken care of. Hopefully they learn their lesson and move on. But again, should not be harassing wildlife, particularly picking up gators of any size. It's against the law, first of all. It's just not smart.
It's just not smart.
Just not smart.
How did we do over the holiday on the water?
We just ended the National Boating Safety Week last week. We went through Memorial Day. Unfortunately, we had a few accidents this past weekend. Don't know all of the stories there, but we did have a few more accidents.
Anything bad?
They're all bad.
Yeah.
I mean, you had some skiing incidents, things where people swim back to a boat, those kind of things, and don't make it back to the boat. Anytime there's a loss of life, it's a bad deal.
Sure.
So hearts go out to those families again. But yes, we're in the boating season now. So a reminder to folks to be safe on the water. Remember your life jackets. Wear your life jackets. Have your life jackets in the boat where you can get to them. Make sure they're in working order, not torn, rips, tears, those kind of things.
You'll be proud of Jarmart boating over the weekend, Memorial Day. Now, did you go sailboating?
We went sailboating on Lake Murray, so all the ropes.
But I questioned him.
Sailboating on Lake Murray.
I questioned him about his safety and starboard and the other one, port.
Yeah, that's to left. Port is to left. Yes,
and the lights, the colors. He was
right.
Yeah. He's
so
been listening.
Sailboat, y'all go out in the night or just daytime?
We just did the daytime. We wanted to get all the nice, pretty vistas there, and the ladies we were with wanted to sunbathe on the deck. So
now how big of a sailboat were you in?
I believe it was a pretty small boat. I think
like
35
a little
feet.
cat, were you? You were in a real boat.
Oh, we were in a real boat. It had a
35 footer.
Yeah,
35 footer.
Pretty good size.
Not too bad.
Yeah.
Tall keel. Yeah. All right.
Got a 5-foot keel.
Did you wear your life jacket?
I wore my life jacket when
you can tell when you start doing.
When it was on the dock.
Whenever the DNR boat came by.
When I saw Captain Downer on the lake, I put it on.
There you go. Yeah.
Were you now over the weekend, the holiday weekend? DNR is out everywhere.
Yes.
Were you somewhere?
I came back from Oregon from a conference there, Hunter Education Conference. Came back and went to Memorial Day at Murrells Inlet. Some of our officers there spent some time on the water in Murrells Inlet. Of course, it's a big weekend. A tremendous amount of folks on the water on the coast there.
Yeah.
So people having fun for the most part, being safe.
Yeah.
Then of course we had bike week detail. Folks on the strip went to visit officers at night there too.
Yeah.
A lot of our officers did a lot of work this week. Good work this weekend that people don't know about. If you're not at the beach, you're not in Myrtle's Inlet during bike week, you don't know the work the officers are doing, standing out in the hot sun or all night on the strip to maintain safety and order.
That is really for bike week, the 2 bike weeks. That's pretty much a 24-hour-a-day assignment, isn't it?
It is. I
mean, because the bikers aren't sleeping; they're up and down.
Everybody, it's busy. Not just bikes; it's busy with just traffic. It's Memorial Day weekend.
Yeah.
So a lot of people out there, and for the most part, people behaved. Again, for the most part. But again, thanks go out to the officers for all the work they do. Do tremendous work. A lot of it's not seen, but they did a good job on the water as well. Worked hard this weekend across the state on our state lakes, just checking on folks, making sure they're being safe.
Good. All right, when we come back from the break here coming up, we're going to talk about deer season.
Yes, we'll talk about deer tags as best we
like
can. There's a lot of questions about deer tags. Talk about deer tags a little bit, kind of introduce us into how it's going to work this coming season.
Okay. And if you have any questions or comments for the captain, you can call us 800-956-7266. We'll put you on with them. You can email us talkback@sportstalksc.com, or if you prefer Twitter, you want to communicate with us there at SportsTalkSC. Shoot us your comment, your question there. The captain will address that for you too. Now, what were you doing out in Oregon?
Oregon, again, Hunter Education Conference. So we were out there just it's the one international conference. It's a big group meeting for all the states. Talk about hunter education, each common trends that are going on, be concerned with what we can do to improve hunter education for the nation.
Very good. You'll share some of that with us too, I'm sure. We'll come back. Got some calls lined up. More from the captain. It is SC Wild on this Wednesday night here on Sports Talk. Back in a moment.
It's time to get wild with SC Wild. Everything hunting and fishing from the South Carolina Department of Natural Resources and your host, Phil Kornblut. SC Wild on Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network.
All right, we're back with the captain, Billy Downer, 800-956-7266. It's actually the captain's show. I'm just sitting here keeping him company.
Basking in the glory.
He could do all this himself. Maybe one day we'll just turn it over to you and we'll go home and listen to you.
No, it wouldn't be fun,
on the
Phil, without
radio.
your sometimes absurd comments.
I'm glad you qualified that by saying sometimes.
Sometimes.
Not all
always.
of them.
Not
just
always.
sometimes. Caller off the air. We're going to go to calls in a moment, but caller off the air wanted you to address some new legislation about flounder.
Yeah, so the
fishing?
flounder bill was going through some of the news on the coast. Have been following that. The bill passed. It will go into effect this year come July. In the past, our flounder limits have been 14-inch length was the last change we had, 15 per person, 30 per boat. It's going to reduce. Now it's going to actually take the size up to 15. So the change is going to be this. So here's the change. Flounder must be 15 inches in length.
Have to be
from the nose to the tail, from the bill, front of the fish to the tail.
Anything under that, back in the water.
That's correct. 15 inches to keep it or larger. Only 10 fish per person, 20 per boat.
Okay,
is going to be the rule. Anybody that flounder gigs, I've been gigging for years now. You've noticed a downtrend in our flounder. So I think a lot of people are looking at this as being a good thing because they're concerned about the flounder in the state. I know a lot of the officers have commented to me that they've seen a downtrend in flounder fishing or the availability of good flounder out there. So, again, anytime you do change the limit like this, it's going to make it where smaller fish have time to grow. So that's the point of this. But, again, it does go into effect, I believe, July 1st, and I will check on that to make sure July 1st.
All right, let's hit the phones here quickly for the captain. Lenny down in Hampton, welcome into SC Wild tonight with Captain Billy Downer.
Lenny, how you doing?
I'm doing good. How are y'all?
Doing great. What's your question for tonight?
I wanted to know if the captain could help out some fellow boaters and explain to them what red right return is, and especially Memorial Day weekend. You know, you got people flying all around and, you know, jumping in the boat and going, and they're cutting people off and getting stuck on sandbars, and especially in the intercoastal waterway. And just if he could help out with that.
All right. No doubt. I saw that this past weekend myself. Always remember when you're talking about red and green or red right returning, you're talking about the lateral system, the lateral marking system. Those are the markers you see on the intercoastal waterway coming in and out of major channels on the ocean. You'll see green squares and red triangles. The red triangles you keep on your right as you are coming back in from the ocean. Hold on. Don't confuse it.
Okay.
All right. So river channels, major river channels come together, go out to the ocean.
Right.
If you're going downstream, okay, out to the ocean.
Correct.
The red's going to be on your left and the green's going to be on your right. So you stay between the red and the green. Green will be to your right.
Okay.
Can be going out. The red will be on your left going out. When you come in, opposite.
Yeah.
You keep the red on your right and the green on the left side of the boat. Now, I saw people this past weekend go on the left side of the green, when the green was to the right. They said, we're looking for the red right returning. Well, if you got the green to your right, you're in the sandbar. It's there to show you the deep water channel. Now, they do jiff some, but you've got your green cans and your red num buoys out there. None have the same cone shape to the top. So kind of similar triangle look. Red buoy, and then the green buoys are square can buoys.
Okay.
Or large metallic structures usually.
So that's what those things mean out there in Murrells Inlet.
Yes. There's a reason for them.
I've wondered about that.
It's called the lateral system. Yes.
50 years at.
Yes.
Okay. I
So
did not
red
know.
right returning, what he was speaking about, you keep the red on your right when you're returning from the ocean or going upstream.
The few times I've been allowed to drive a boat in Murrells Inlet, I just kept it, try to stay in the middle of the
and
inlet.
stay away from others. I get it.
Stay away from others. I
got
did.
it.
I was not one of those, you know, I don't want to get caught in somebody's wake.
I got you.
I don't want to create a wave. I just want to get back to the dock.
Let's hit deer tags
and get out. You hit this call real quick?
Our time's probably rolling.
You know?
Yeah, hit the call
Yeah, let's
quick.
go to the call real quick. John in Columbia. Did you say John in Columbia? All right, John, you're on the air, SC Wild with Captain Downer.
Hey, thanks a lot. What's the difference between fluke?
The flukes. Now, fluke. A fluke, I am not sure. A flounder, of course, is a fish. A fluke. Flukes, when I'm thinking flukes, I'm thinking about something like a fluke is actually a little embryonic type protozoan. It's a fluke usually, or maybe a fluke sometimes.
F-L-U-K-E?
F-L-U-K-E, yes. I'm thinking those are like, trying to remember.
Yeah.
They're not a fish, though.
They're not a fish.
They're not a fish, usually. I've never called a flounder a fluke.
Lower classifications, Digenia.
Yes.
Dirocolilium.
Yes. Again,
scientific name Trematota.
Yes, they're going to be what would be considered like a what do you call it? They don't have a backbone.
Yeah.
So they're going to be like a protozoa or things like that. Fluke. Invertebrate. Thank you for that word.
God.
Science hero. Invertebrate. Good job.
Yeah, here we go. Okay, well, I'm talking about a Trematota here as a class within the phylum Platyphylomenthines.
Wow.
Thank you, Wikipedia.
Fluke being a invertebrate.
Okay. Same caller or different caller? Different caller. Okay, we're good there. All right, you wanted to hit the deer tags.
Yes. Let's hit deer tags. Let's talk about it real quick. And we may have to go back to that next time. We got another caller?
No, we're good.
All right, we're good.
Go ahead.
All right. Beginning this season, 2017, August 15th, when it opens up across the state, different areas of the state, and on, all deer in South Carolina must be tagged. We've talked about this for the last year a little bit. Bill passed last year, but the implementation period is beginning now. So basically, here we go. Here's the tags. If you have a big game permit, any license that contains a big game permit, you're going to receive 3 unrestricted antlered buck tags that are for bucks only, and 8 date-specific antlerless deer tags. Each of these antlerless deer tags is only valid on the specific day that is on the tag and cannot be used any other day. They're similar to the doe day tag, the doe days. They're basically keeping the doe days, but making you tag on those days.
Okay.
So if people are familiar with having doe days, they have a tag now with a date on it, and that's the only day that tag is good. So for free, you're going to get 11 tags, 8 for does and 3 for bucks. Unrestricted, no size limit at all on the bucks. Okay, so 11 deer. Now, residents can purchase 2 additional antler restriction buck tags for $5 each. So you can buy 2 more for $10, basically total. And those are antler restrictions. They have to be 4 points on one side or a minimum of 12-inch spread. It's not really a big deer, okay? But it's trying to get people to manage a little bit better. All right, as in the past, you can still pick up an additional 4 individual antlers tags for $5 each. That's does. So in the end, you can end up with 17 tags that one person could possibly take in a year.
17. That's a
All
pretty
right.
good number.
I don't know many people. There are some.
Yeah.
But most people don't take near that many deer. Now, we have a pretty good deer population. We talk about the health of our population, but that's a lot of deer.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people need that. I mean, nobody needs that many deer.
Yeah.
But there are those that do well with that. So
now, by doing this, by having that particular number limit, are we reducing the number properly, or are we allowing the
we're just better controlling the take with the tags. It's better for officers to be able to tell who's taking what.
Gotcha.
And the enforcement gets better.
Gotcha.
Remember, deer tags will not be available over the counter at point of sale vendors, Walmart, Dick's Sporting Goods, etc. They'll be available over the counter after August 1st at DNR offices located in Charleston, Clemson, Columbia, downtown, and the farmers market, and Florence and York. Tags may be requested after July 1st by phone or online as well. Tags will not be mailed until early August. So if you've got a big game license and you currently have a big game license and it is valid, in August you'll be receiving 11 free tags.
We have enjoyed it, sir. Thank you so much.
Glad to be back.
Good to see you. We'll see you again. Thank you, John Martin. Have a great night, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.